BARK Radio.
What's good, everybody? It's Robo from All Bark back with another video, and today I'm bringing you my NFL Week 2 picks. We learned a lot about these teams in Week 1, and now it's time to dive into some potential Week 2 overreactions. I won't have score predictions or a recap graphic this week, as I'm still testing stuff out and seeing where I'm at on accuracy, but I am still picking every game against the spread and straight up. Last week we went dead even for picking games and 2 under for spreads, which I am keeping track of for the future. But with that said, let's go ahead and get started picking games, starting with Thursday night. Thursday Night Football brings us the Packers and the Commanders from Lambeau Field, a battle of 2 playoff teams from a year ago, and I think this should be a great game. The Packers look incredible in Week 1, dominating a Lions team who many still believe are one of the NFL's best teams. As for the Commanders, they took care of a bad Giants team in Week 1 matchup without too much of a sweat. This game's going to be decided by the Packers' defense. It's a really strong unit, and I think Jaden Daniels brings an element to the offense as a runner that's going to make things a lot tougher for them. They've got less prep time, it's not a division rivalry, and there's a lot of extended drives with Daniels' legs, which are all going to help the Commanders move the ball better than Detroit did. But at the end of the day, this Packers offense will score in return. The Commanders' defense still is not in a good spot to me, and Matt LaFleur consistently starts seasons great against the spread. So give me the Packers taking the higher scoring matchup, minus the 3.5. The Lions host the Bears Week 2 in another divisional battle. Both teams coming off a loss to division rivals after terrible offensive performances. A key stat for me here is the fact that Dan Campbell is 10-0 against the spread in recent years immediately following a loss. This Lions O-line absolutely needs to bounce back, but I do think they have the personnel to do so, and it won't be as bad as Week 1 looked. The Bears' defense looked really solid, though. I just expect a lot more out of the Lions' offense this week, playing at home, which should be a big advantage for them. But with the struggles they had in Week 1 and Ben Johnson out on the other side, I'm not going to expect a blowout in this game. Give me the Lions to win, but Chicago covering that 6-point line. Cam Ward makes his home debut for the Titans this week up against a tough matchup in the Rams. Last week against Denver, the Titans' offense was pretty awful, but not really at fault to Cam Ward in my opinion. Blocking, drops, and communication ruined a decent day from him to me, but on the bright side, the defense was impressive, shutting down the Broncos' offense and taking the football away several times. The Rams' offense had a tougher day against the Texans last week and could easily suffer a similar fate as the Broncos this week if the Titans continue that defensive success. I don't have enough faith in Tennessee's offense yet to call an upset in this game, but I do think they hang in with the Rams, but fall short again as the Rams get off to a 2-0 start to the year. The Bengals had a really rough go in Week 1 against the Browns defense. Just 2 catches for Jamar Chase and a near loss on the road to a team many think might be the worst in the NFL this season. Whether that's right or not, Cincinnati continues to start season slow, which makes taking them to win and cover really tough early. But at home against the Jaguars might be one of those spots. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a better day from the passing offense, getting the stars going and testing that Jags defense more than Carolina could. And while the Jags offense does look a little improved, I'm still not sold on their ability as a team to go on the road and beat good teams, or really with that passing game in general. I'm going to roll with the Bengals at home to start 2-0 and taking the 3.5 with it. The Ravens suffered the toughest loss of Week 1, an ultimate stinger blowing a 15-point fourth quarter lead in a matter of minutes to a familiar opponent in the Bills. So this week could either be a letdown spot or a get-back spot, and with the dominance we saw out of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, I have a hard time believing they won't come out fired up ready to unload on the Browns. This defense needed a much better day, and there really couldn't be much better of an opponent for that. And I don't think any defense will be able to stop this backfield duo again this season. I've got the Ravens dominating the Browns in Baltimore this week. Over to the other side of that Ravens-Bills matchup, the Bills go on the road this week taking on their division rival Jets. And while I do agree the Bills are one of the best teams in the league, I'm also not going to deny that this could be a letdown spot for them. An emotional victory that big over a team they really can get up for can be tough to replicate the following week. And the Jets proved in Week 1 they may not be too bad this season. Justin Fields looked pretty comfortable against a solid defense in Pittsburgh, and I definitely have my doubts about the Buffalo defense this season. This seems like a game the Jets can come in with more fire and hang around in, maybe even come away with a home upset, but it's just so hard to doubt Josh Allen in clutch moments. Give me the Bills close, but the Jets cover at home. The Patriots were a huge letdown in Week 1, but I picked that game before knowing Christian Gonzalez would be out and a couple other guys were playing banged up. Regardless, I expected more out of the offense, and it wasn't pretty. They get a chance to avenge that, though, on the road this week at Miami, who got absolutely demolished by Daniel Jones and the Colts. That Indianapolis defense might be extremely underrated this season, but Daniel Jones having that much success is definitely telling. I don't trust this Dolphins team whatsoever. The offensive line is bad, and the defense has some issues. I'm going to take New England to pick up their first win on the road this week as an underdog. 49ers at Saints is a much more interesting matchup now than it looked previously, but it might be the worst game of the week for viewers. We all know the Saints are not a good team, but they battled last week against the Cardinals for a while, and in their home opener, they'll host the 49ers team coming off a hard-fought win, and now missing Brock Purdy and George Kittle. This is absolutely a winnable game for New Orleans. Just personally, I'm not a believer in Spencer Rattler at all, and I really don't hate Mac Jones. He proved he can at least be serviceable as a backup, and they've still got some playmakers on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to roll with the Niners to get a win in the absence of Brock this week and cover on the road. Dallas hosts the Giants this week after nearly pulling off a huge upset week 1 against the Eagles, and after seeing the Giants offense in week 1, I definitely favor the Cowboys in this game. I think the offense is going to find ways to score with what they showed in that first half against Philly, and although the defense has some big question marks, Russell Wilson leading this Giants team clearly isn't going to be very fun for Giants fans to watch. That, on top of the Cowboys getting extra prep time for this game, with last week's game being on a Thursday for them, just leads me to believe Dallas can win this game by at least a touchdown. So I'll take the Cowboys minus the 4.5 in their home opener. Steelers-Seahawks is my toughest call of the week. There's a lot of betting history metrics that favor the Seahawks in this game, but I just don't know how much I trust Sam Darnold, and I'm expecting a better game from the Steelers defense being at home this week. I thought Pittsburgh's offense looked pretty solid on the road at the Jets, and the defense came up with a stop when it was needed most. Seattle just isn't a team I know I can trust yet, and this game feels like one of the Steelers just find a way to win to me. I think it'll be a bit lower scoring, as the Seahawks defense can definitely make some plays, but like I said, Pittsburgh's defense should be in a much better spot this week, and it'll help them win by more than a field goal for me. The Colts were the surprise of week 1 for me, blowing the doors off of a bad Miami Dolphins team, and credit to Daniel Jones for looking pretty sharp in his Indianapolis debut. I think this Colts defense could be a pretty solid unit this season, keeping them in games no matter what their offense looks like. And this week is no exception. The Broncos offense got tested last week, getting shut down by Tennessee for a majority of that game. They could easily come out flat again and get stunned by the Colts here, but based on what we saw a season ago, I have reason to believe the Broncos come out stronger and they don't turn the ball over 3 times this game, which helped them put up some better numbers. And that Denver defense can absolutely shut down the Colts in my opinion. I think Denver comes out on top on the road in this one. The Cardinals get another easier game this week as they host the Panthers, who just got pretty much dominated by Jacksonville last week as the offense couldn't get anything going, and Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne got enough going to control that game pretty early on. I think it's pretty obvious Carolina is still a ways away from having a good offense surrounding Bryce Young, and the O-line still struggled a ton, and Tech can only help so much in his first game. But I think this is a buy low spot on the Panthers offense. The Cardinals defense still isn't great, other than Will Johnson having a great performance, so I like this game going over the total, and Arizona isn't good enough for me to take them as over touchdown favorites. So I think the Cardinals survive a close matchup this week at home, as Carolina does cover. Eagles at Chiefs could be a phenomenal game this week. The Chiefs are missing some key contributors, of course, with Rashee Rice suspended and now potentially Xavier Worthy missing this one, which makes it so hard to see Kansas City finding a lot of points in this game, but it's also so hard to imagine the Chiefs starting 0-2. Philly's defense didn't look the greatest in Week 1's matchup with the Cowboys, but they got that game under control, and they also didn't have Jalen Carter as he was ejected on the first play. And I just don't know how you stop Saquon Barkley. Him as a difference maker on top of what KC's offense could be missing is enough for me to side with Philly on the road. I've got the Eagles winning and covering in this one. We got our first look at J.J. McCarthy Monday night as he went into Chicago and took down the Bears with a gutsy second half comeback. He fits in perfectly with this coaching staff. The numbers don't matter to him, and that's what's going to make this Vikings team so hard to beat on top of the defense and coaching. They're getting tested this week, though, as Michael Penix and the Falcons come to town for Sunday Night Football. This Falcons team nearly upset the Buccaneers in Week 1 and absolutely have the talent to compete for a playoff spot in the NFC South this season. And I think they come into Minnesota and give them a tough game, but with the potential of missing Mooney and London, and the run game not literally popping last week, I got to trust Minnesota at home to come away with another close victory. I've got the Vikings in this one, but I just can't get to that 4.5 for them. The Bucs already picked up one solid road win last week and are back on the road again in Week 2, this time at the Houston Texans. This Texans team was almost exactly what I expected in Week 1 against the Rams, a struggling offense despite solid quarterback play out of CJ Stroud, and a tough defense that's really good at limiting points in production. And this is a very similar game to me, except this Bucs offense just has more weapons than the Rams do in my opinion, and I think they make it really important that Houston gets their offense in rhythm. Nico Collins is probably going to see more targets drawn up for him, and they've got to be able to run the football a bit, but I just don't see them being good enough to score consistently on this Tampa defense. The O-line has way too many issues, and I think the Bucs are going to do enough in the trenches to take control of this game. Give me the Bucs as road underdogs outright in Houston. Our late Monday Night Football matchup could be a great one. It's an AFC West battle with the Chargers heading to Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Raiders deserve some respect getting a road victory in New England last week. Geno Smith is an obvious upgrade at quarterback, and he looked good for that offense. Brock Bowers is a little banged up, but sounds good to go, and they'll need the offense to really come to play because the Chargers are a much better team than New England. especially offensively. Justin Herbert played one of the best games of his career week 1 against the Chiefs, and they flat out outplayed Kansas City, which is tough to do. Jim Harbaugh is a great coach and has his team humming early, but on top of everything, as a coach, he's 6-1 against the spread as a road favorite. I'm a buyer of this Chargers team this season, and I do trust in Jim Harbaugh's group to show up on the road on prime time. Give me the Chargers minus 3.5 on Monday night. That's it for my Week 2 picks. Let me know your thoughts on any of these games down in the comments below, as well as any ideas you have for content on the channel in the future. As always, thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
BARK Radio.